emanating from deep under the earth, spreading across the globe at the speed of thought, changing the world one brain at a time. This is the Final Order Report from Green Brain Comics. Greetings, Brainiacs, and welcome to Last Call, your one-stop preview for next month's best comics and your last chance to pre-order before the print runs are locked and loaded. I am Dan Merritt, Chief Ordering Officer at Green Brain Comics, and I'm here to give you the lowdown on what's hitting our shelves starting Wednesday, February 25th, and what you'll want to pre-order by this Sunday, February 1st at midnight. The Final Order Report and Green Brain Comics are proudly powered by Comichub. Check out Comichub online at comichub.com or grab the mobile app for Android and iPhone. Create an account or log into your existing one to order. Pay securely and make sure you never miss an issue. Today I'll be using Last Call for confirmed orders menu on the Comichub website. Behind the orange banner here, you have anything that may be in store that's assigned to your account already and waiting for you to pick up and pay for and have us ship out. Behind the green banner is all the menus that we will be using to pre-order today. Let's move forward through the green menu here. You see at the top you can search all menus. Below that you can look at preview pages. Then you could search arriving soon. That is everything on next week's invoice that's about to hit the shelf. You can assign right off of that menu. Below that is the last call. That's the one we will be using today. But first let me scroll down and show you that you can also search crossover events, manga, and collected editions. So let's scroll back up and check out search orders due Sunday for Last Call. We'll click through there and you'll see that you got a top scrolling menu, and you also have filters for alphanumerics. You got drop downs for publisher, category, brands. All kind of options are available for you to get right to you what you want on this week's Last Call menu. And the first thing that we will be looking at on Last Call this week is Small Press Comics. And I'd like to first take a moment to thank our pals over at Klezmergeddon for supplying our theme song this week and leading us into this week's Last Call for Small Press. And that'll kick it off with some kid-friendly stuff. We got Archie and Friends, number 20. This is Space Adventures. This features writings by Dan Parent. Also, art in this cover. Got a B cover from Andrew Pepoy. And a foil variant by Sam Schwartz. It's Archie and Friends number 20, over 30 pages of intergalactic adventures, available on, February 25th. That's the one. Let's move on over to Fantagraphics and their offering of the Mickey Mouse number 3. This is Legacy issue number 333. And is part of the Ripples in Time story from a whole bunch of great international talents. And we get some more Disney stuff over at Dynamite. It's Good to Be the Queen and Disney Villains Maleficent number 5, available on February 25th. Also available the same day is DuckTales number 11. On sale March 4th is Gargoyles Darkwing Duck crossover number 3. I think we're still waiting for number 1 on this one. And then we have the debut issue of the new Disney Villains miniseries featuring Ursula. Into the Bottomless Blue. Writer Sherry L. Smith and artist Gabrielle Bagnoli take readers back beneath the waves for an all-new tale of tentacled treachery. Years before she would meet a young mermaid named Ariel, the formidable Ursula presided over a vast underwater kingdom as one of the 7 sea witches, along with Capricia, Scylla, Charybdis, Melusine, Tiamat, and Vodyanoi. Together, the Septet ruled the world's oceans with impunity. This new series, written by Sherry L. Smith, with art by Gabrielle Bagnoli, features fantastic covers. With the A cover by Mirka Andolfo. Jay Lee, menacing. Bob Quinn. Shatoki Shiki. And the Francesca Carita variant, all available on February 25th from Dynamite Entertainment. It's Disney Villains Ursula #1. Also from Dynamite, a little bit outside the Disney world, we got Supernatural #5, continuing that series. This is the B cover by Eder Messias, who does interiors. And this is also the B cover of Vampirilla #11, art by Derek Chu. Over at Keen Spot, we get a second issue of Skyclad. And Ignition Press releases No Place #4 on March 11th. And debuts the new series from writer Jim McCann and artist Joe Eisma. It's The Other Half. Opposites attract in this wholesome whodunit from Jim McCann and Joe Eisma. Formerly a high society darling, Ethan thinks the worst thing he'll have to contend with over the holidays is the disapproval of his upper crust parents. But when things go awry on his job protecting the priceless nobility diamond, more than just his feelings are put into jeopardy. Now it's up to his husband Henry to put his PI skills to good use and clear Ethan's name. From writer Jim McCann and artist Joe Eisma, it's The Other Half, with an A cover from interior artist Joe Eisma, a B cover from Ego Rodriguez. Debuting on March 11th from Ignition Press, it's The Other Half. Over at Mad Cave, we get the next new issue of Ferocious. Oh, it's the penultimate issue. Liquidator #4. New Space Age from Kenny Porter. Cool cover. And Temporal #5, the final issue of the miniseries from Stephanie Williams and Isaiah Fulmore. Mad Cave debuts on February 25th. This new series from Dave Chisholm. This is a story about Ted and Sarah. Ted, isolated and paranoid, works for a mega corporation owned by the world's only trillionaire. He suffers from night terrors. Obsessively draws the same mysterious figure again and again, all while listening to one track of music on repeat. Oh, and the only person he ever talks to is a stray cat. His humanity is hanging by a thread. Sarah is a new arrival to the city, fighting her own demons, and her job is to remotely spy on Ted to ensure he doesn't hurt anyone or himself. When Ted's mental state begins to crack, Sarah compassionately intervenes to help, and things go catastrophically catastrophically wrong. Is Ted okay? Mashes up the paranoid existence of the Severance with the cosmic sci-fi of Akira, while exploring what happens when the act of help goes horribly awry. From David Chisholm. Is Ted okay? Number 1, David Chisholm cover on A B cover from Christian Ward. Pretty cool. Is Ted okay? Moving on to Sumerian Comics and their consortium of different publishers. This is City of Demons number 2. Magnus Jakuta number 3. Sun Chasers double-sized one-shot from Ben Ferreira and Buck Weiss with art by Kurt Belcher. And we get a couple magazines from Warrant Publishing. We got Shutter Magazine number 28 with a classic Frank Frazetta cover. And Vampirus Carmilla with a couple different pieces of art on the cover from Frank Frazetta and from San Julian. All beautiful pieces, all available on March 25th. And Oni Press offers the second issue of Spirit of the Shadows. This was my pick of the week this last week by Daniel Ziegler and Nick Cagnetti. More wacky, hellish goodness in the second issue, available on February 25th. And also from Oni Press, we get the debut of Murder Drones, based on Glitch Productions' global animation phenomenon created by Liam Vickers and now streaming on Prime Video. It's 3 cheers for Destroy All Humans as all-star creators Wyatt Kennedy and Jo Mi Young unleash the record-setting comics adaptation of the desolate exoplanet. But unleash the record-setting comic adaptation of the series that you have watched 330 million times, Murder Drones. That's pretty cool. It's got an A cover from Alessio Zono, a B cover from interior artist Jo Mi Young, and a C cover from Crooked Glass. It's Murder Drones, available on March 25th. From Oni Press. And available on March 4th, this new comic book magazine you demanded. It's going to be here. Do you love comics? Do you want to read more comics that you will love? Do you wish there were a magazine you could pick up every month that also loves comics? Well, my dudes, all your wishes have finally come true. How to Make Absolute Batman. How to Make Absolute Batman? That's right, we're kicking things off with the hottest book of the century, with a look at the past, present, and future of Nick Dragata's and Scott Snyder's absolute masterpiece. There'll also be articles and sales data, maybe a price guide, possibly some art instruction. Maybe you'll see some classifieds. It's comic size to fit on store racks, and it is Comics the Magazine, available on March 4th from Prana Publishing. Next up from Titan Publishing, Conan the Barbarian number 29. Escape from Skull Island number 2. This is pretty brutal looking. And over at Vault Comics, we get the debut of a new series called Nectar. An island village off Salem, Massachusetts, is inundated by a strange species of butterflies that spread the dancing plague and have a very particular taste in nectar. Human blood. New York Times bestselling author Jeremy Robinson and Italian phenom artist Anna Paolo Martello and Francesco Francini horrify readers with a quaint village's descent into madness. It's Nectar #1, available on March 4th. From Vault Comics, Jeremy Robinson, Anna Paolo Martello, and Francesco Francini. We got a Chris Sheehan cover on a B cover, a G cover, which is a Black Bag Suspiria variant. It has the nudity. And the Jeremy Robinson full art variant on the cover I for $3.99. This is Nectar #1 from Vault Comics. All right, that does it for the small press. Now let's move on into Last Call for Image Comics. And this section is presented by our friends over at the Senate Theater, home of the Detroit Theater Organ Society. This Saturday, January 31st, they will be showing a film by Stanley Kubrick. It's Dr. Strangelove, featuring Peter Sellers and George C. Scott. It all happens at 8 p.m. this Saturday, January 31st at the Senate Theater, senatetheater.com for more information. Moving right on into Image Comics and the other mid-sized publishers. We'll kick it off with Author Immortal #5. Escape #6. This is the end of the first story arc from Rick Remender and Daniel Acuna. Final Boss #4. G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero #2 in the Homofiles edition. This is a special reprint with insights into the most iconic issues of G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, printed on deluxe newsprint. Gunslinger Spawn #51. Hyde Street #10. Invincible Universe Capes #4. Still with the reprint material, but I think it's going to be featuring some new stuff. And Power Fantasy #16. This is the end of the story arc from Kieran Gillen and Casper Weingard. Ooh, look, it's more fun from Savage Dragon. $2.79. And, oh yeah. Let's go over here. That's fun. Skinbreaker #6, available on March 25th. And Void Rivals 27, The Quintesson War continues. Brutal warfare. Ooh, look, another issue of Wrestle Heist #3 in this 5-issue miniseries from Kyle Starks. Boom Studios releases Marion Heretic on March 11th. And Dark Horse Comics releases Cyberpunk 2077 #2, Chrome. Masterminds #4. And the next new issue of Miss Truesdale and the Rise of Man #3 from the world of Hellboy. Red Book Volume 1 #4 from James Tynion IV and Michael Avon Oeming. This also has a B cover by Jill Thompson and is the series finale. Then we have the debut at Dark Horse of this new 5-issue miniseries entitled Usagi Yojimbo Kaito 84. In 1984, Osaka. There it is. In 1984, Osaka, the bloodline of Miyamoto Usagi lives on through Kaito Usagi, a cunning rabbit thief with a rebellious spirit. He embodies his ancestors' legacy in a way the stoic samurai we know and love never could. A daring new heist for a legendary spear sets Kaito down a perilous path, forever altering his destiny. and placing the fate of Osaka and perhaps the world on his shoulders. A brand new era of Usagi Yojimbo featuring Miyamoto Usagi's descendant in 1984, a heist for a legendary spear possessed by evil. This is 5-issue miniseries debuting on March 11th from Dark Horse Comics. This is Usagi Yojimbo Kaito number 84, number 1, with an A cover by Jared Cullum, who does interiors. This issue is written by Zach Rosenberg. We got a B cover by Stan Sakai. A Jim Rugg cover. Cool. Debuting on March 11th, it's Usagi Yojimbo Kaito 84. And IDW offers Sonic the Hedgehog number 85. Star Trek Lower Decks number 1. This is an IDW Classics reprinting of the very first issue of the Ryan North, Derek Charm series of Star Trek Lower Deck stories. That is specially priced at $1.99. But also has a foil version for $9.99 that will be available for special order. Get your orders in by this Sunday. Star Trek Lower Decks number 17 debuts on March 11th. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 16. This new story by Jean Luen Yang continues on March 11th. And we get a 7th issue of TMNT Journeys from Peter Laird and Jim Lawson. Ooh, look, we get a new reprinting of The Rocketeer in the Classics reprint series from Dave Stevens. And a foil version. Cool idea. $1.99. And then foil for $9.99. Okay, from IDW Dark, we have the debut of this new series entitled A Quiet Place. She looks scared. The world ended in a hush. The creatures came for the cities first, but in Pearl, Iowa, a tiny island town on the Mississippi, the mayor and townsfolk believe that that's someone else's problem. Cut off from the chaos of the coasts, they think they can ride out the storm. But Fire Chief Lonnie Fry knows better. The creatures that hunt by sound are coming west. And unless the people of Pearl take drastic action, silence won't save them, it'll bury them. From legendary creators Phil Hester, Ryan Kelly, comes the first ever A Quiet Place comic series, an untold chapter of fear, family, and sacrifice set in the terrifying world of the blockbuster films. Number 1 features a Ryan Kelly cover on A B cover from writer-artist Phil Hester. A C foil cover by David Johnson. Very iconic. And debuting on March 11th, it's A Quiet Place. Storm Warning number 1. Also available on March 11th. And also from IDW Dark, it's the sequel to, the sequel called The Exorcism at Buckingham Place. From Hannah Rose May and Kelsey Ramsey comes the next installment of the Dark series that dared to possess a nation. First it was America, now England. It's 5 a.m. at 10 Downing Street. The Prime Minister gets a call that bolts him upright out of bed. The royal family has been lost at sea. Parliament and Buckingham Palace explode with action in the aftermath. Some suspect the prince and his wife, the princess, were attacked. Others whisper their tragedy was a result of a long-standing family curse. Either way, playboy and recovering addict Theo Belmont is next in line to the throne. Can he step up to the role, or will he be consumed by his demons? The sequel to The Exorcism at 1600 pen. This is The Exorcism at Buckingham Palace, #1, available on March 11th, with an A cover from interior artist Kelsey Ramsey. Damien Worm on B. A foil cover from Heather Vaughn. Available on March 11th from IDW Publishing, IDW Dark. It's The Exorcism at Buckingham Palace. And capping off IDW and the mid-level press. I guess this does. Yep, it does. It's Godzilla versus Portland. Godzilla continues its USA sight-smashing tour. Next stop, Portland. Specifically, Portland, Oregon. Rising out of the fog of the Pacific Northwest, Godzilla is about to turn Stumptown into Stomptown. Oregon, more like Oregon. Rip City, more like actual. No, that. Join a star-studded cast of Portland-based comic book creators, including Mark Russell, Caitlin Yarsky, and many more. You're going to be less concerned with keeping Portland weird and more worried about keeping Portland standing when Godzilla comes to visit. We got an A cover from Benjamin Dewey. Ooh, we got some interiors written by Colleen Coover. Got a Caitlin Yarsky cover on B. It's Godzilla vs. America, Portland. Available on March 11th. IDW. And that does it for the mid-level press. Let's move on over to Last Call for DC Comics. This week's Last Call for DC Comics is presented by the February 13th Drink and Draw, hosted at Downey Brewing Company and co-hosted by Blick Art Materials. Pencils, marker, paper, and more provided. More information about and directions for Downey Brewing Company at downeybrewingcompany.com. It all happens on the second Friday. Is that the second Friday? Yeah, it all happens on the second Friday of February 13th from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Downey Brewing Company. Now on to DC Comics. And the first thing in DC Comics this week is a mystery. Let's go. First thing on DC Comics this week is Absolute Flash number 12. This A cover from series artist Nick Robles. Ooh, and a swell B cover from Leslie Lyrics Lee. Absolute Martian Manhunter with a Javier Rodriguez cover on A, available on February 25th. And a cardstock variant on B by Werther Daldera. These covers are always so good. Absolute Wonder Woman comes back with a new issue on February 25th with an A cover from series artist Hayden Sherman. Ooh, and a Riley Rossmo cover. How metal. Action Comics 419 has a facsimile reprint. The regular cover for $3.99, couple extra bucks for the foil cover. And on February 18th, I find that highly unlikely. I'm going to say probably later than February 18th. Yeah, this is looking like March 4th. It's Batman, Green Arrow, The Question, Arcadia number 3 of 4. Cool cover from Gabriel Hardiman, who writes and arts that issue. Detective Comics 11/06 with a Michael Janine cover. Flash number 30 crossing over into DCKO drops on February 25th. Ooh, it's a modest proposal. Huh? In Green Lantern number 32. Speaking of romance, it's the death of romance in Harley Quinn number 59. It's finally time. Yannick Paquette cover available on February 25th. And a beautiful yet strangely discomforting cover by David Nakayama on the cardstock variant. Ooh, it's the next new issue of Justice League Unlimited. Look, the terrific 10 is getting chewed upon from Mr. Terrific in Hell. Justice League Unlimited number 16. Mark Waid, Dan Moore. Dan Moore cover on A. B, a D cover from Dan Hip, who is just amazing. John Gang cover. Very nice. Yeah, good times. Ooh, this is another, this is part of the Black History Month cardstock variant theme. This one by Torrin Clark. I think we'll have a couple more for you coming up soon. Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong, Volume 2, number 7 of 7. The Titan-size conclusion drops on February 25th. From Brian Buccellato, Christian Deuce cover on A. And a cardstock variant by Carmine Di Giandomenico. Ooh, look, we get a facsimile edition of limited collector's edition number 39, Secret Origins of Supervillains. Originally $1, this standard edition will be priced at $14.99. The foil version will be a couple bucks extra. A few bucks extra. Oh, poor Superman's floating around out in space. The end is nigh in Superman number 35 with this interesting cover from Dan Mora. And this beautiful cover from Rod Rice on Superman 35, February 25th. Batman number 7 kicks off the second story arc from Matt Fraction and Jorge Jimenez with a shocking reintroduction of the Joker as you've never seen him before. As Batman is beckoned to Arkham Towers by the mysterious man in room 10. Nothing will prepare him for who he finds there. Some might call him the Cape Crusaders' arch nemesis. Others might call him Batman's best friend. Looks like his best friend. Look, they're friends. Everyone calls him not Batgirl. Everyone calls him not Jorge Jimenez. It's the Joker in Batman number 7. New story arc, March 4th. And this one shot debuts on February 25th. It follows the popular New History of the DC Universe format. It's the can't miss New History of the DC Universe spin-off to celebrate Black History Month. This is the Dakota Incident, written by Joseph P. Illidge, Stephanie Williams, Morgan Hampton, and Nicholas Draper Ivey, featuring art by Carlo Pagualan, Valentin Delandro, and Edwin Galman, spitting out of the pages of a New History of the DC Universe. Uncover an untold moment in DC history where a murder leads to an all-out war between the heroes of Dakota City and the U.S. government. As their home becomes a battlefield, what must Static, Rocket, and the others sacrifice to keep their loved ones safe? It's the new history of the DC Universe, the Dakota Incident, available on February 25th. We got this A cover by Diego Olortuega, Dennis Cowan and Dan Jurgens variant, Yasmin Putri, Joshua Swaby foil, all for Disney History of the DC Universe, the Dakota Incident one-shot, available on February 25th. All right. Let's see. And capping off DC Comics, we have the debut of the new 6-issue miniseries from DC Vertigo. This is The Peril of the Brutal Dark, an Ezra Kane mystery. Chris Condon and Jacob Phillips introduce a new noir icon. New York City, 1941. Ezra Kane is a private investigator with a reputation for taking it on the chin if it means solving a case. But it's his former life as an archaeology student that makes him the only man to track down an artifact that's gone missing from the Museum of Natural History, an ancient anvil said to hold the power of the great god Hephaestus. If someone could harness that power, they could bend nations to their will. Science fiction quickly becomes Kane's reality when a shadowy sect calling themselves the Brutal Dark appears in the city, wielding resources that defy human logic. Now, Ezra is the only thing that stands between them and their plot to overthrow America. From writer Chris Condon and artist Jacob Phillips, the creators of the hit series That Texas Blood and the Enfield Gang Massacre, introduce us to the private eye whose business is exposing our deepest secrets. But on this job, he'll learn that some mysteries are better off buried. With an A cover and debuting on February 25th from interior artist Jacob Phillips. Got a B cover from Tula Lote, like Hayden Sherman, Sean Phillips, a connecting cover by Alvaro Martinez Bueno, Jacob Phillips with a foil variant, all for The Peril of the Brutal Dark, an Ezra Kane mystery #1 of 6, debuting on February 25th. Get your orders in by this Sunday at midnight. And that wraps it up for DC Comics this week on Last Call. Let's move right on over to Last Call for Marvel Comics. This week, Marvel Comics is presented by Brain Candy. The next Brain Candy event happens on the third Monday of the month, Monday, February 16th. And presented for no charge inside Green Brain Comics, featuring an evening of music from This Life We Lead, prose reading from Sylvia Hubbard, poetry from Tommy Blount, and the visual art of Emmanuel E-Man Bates. It's the 75th edition of Brain Candy, presented for no charge and co-produced in part by the Daniel E. Wickett Legacy Committee. It's Brain Candy number 75. Moving right on over into Marvel Comics, we have the final issue of Jed MacKay, who brings his run to a shocking end. 3 years of dark mysteries, epic quests, and cosmos-shattering battles comes to a head in this giant-sized, can't-miss final issue. Everything Jed MacKay has built comes crashing down in the startling finale that will redefine the Avengers' future. Ooh, with some swell covers, too. From the aforementioned Jed MacKay and series writer Fareed Karami, we got a wraparound cover on the A cover to Avengers 36 by Giuseppe Camuncoli. Got a B cover by interior artist Fareed Karami. CF Via on the Farewell variant. Corey Smith with a Doom homage, classic John Byrne cover tribute. All for Avengers 36. Yeah, this is the wraparound cover. This is it. Wraparound cover by Russell Dauterman. I got it. Captain America gets a second printing of number 6. Daredevil Punisher, the Devil's Trigger number 5 gets a Peach Momoko variant that I thought was pretty swell. Skulls, skulls, skulls. Nova Centuria number 5. And all new Spider-Gwen, the Ghost Spider number 8. Amazing Spider-Man number 23 drops on March 4th with part 2 of the Death Spiral storyline from Joe Kelly, Ed McGuinness cover on A. Ivan Talavera delivering this rockin' cover featuring all new Venom. Lee Bermejo on the Amazing Visions variant. Pretty cool and gross. Not that slobbery. And the Ultimates gets a bunch of new printings. I don't think we had art for all of them. Yeah, I guess we did. We got a third printing of Ultimates number 1, as well as a second printing of number 2, number 3, and number 4 all get a third printing. Ultimates 22, the next new issue with this swell cover by Dike Ruan, and an Ultimate special variant by Inhyuk Lee. Ooh, look, we get a facsimile reprint of Phoenix, the Untold Story, featuring the original, uncensored, never before published conclusion to the saga of Phoenix from Chris Claremont and John Byrne. Wolverine number 17 drops on March 4th with that swell Dan Panosian cover. And then we got a Puppeteer Lee cover that kind of reminds me of John Muth. The X-Men of Apocalypse gets an Art Adams variant. True to form. And X-Men number 26 kicks off a new storyline. This is part 1 of A Danger Room from Jed MacKay with series artist Nitho Diaz, who did the A cover. Part 1 of Danger Room also gets a Derek Chu Cyclops variant and a Gurahiru Marvel Monster variant that I think is pretty cool. Luciano Vecchio with this Juggernaut variant. All for X-Men 26 Danger Room Part 1. We also get an annual for the X-Men. This is an all-new mutant menace known as the Creationist Forces, 4 artists to visualize monsters that tear through reality. The X-Men must survive an attack where imagination itself becomes the enemy. Now they have to stop the Creationist before his nightmare visions consume the world in an epic issue featuring several superstar guest artists, which is also written by previous series artist Ryan Stegman, who did this A cover, which is pretty cool, and is said to hopefully pick up some of the stray threads of the Phoenix storyline. We also get a B cover from Sanford Green. Very nice. Available on March 4th from Marvel Comics. Okay, now we get a debut of a new Star Wars series. This called Shadow of Maul. This is a pulpy, exciting prequel series set before the events of the upcoming Disney Plus show. Welcome to Janix, a neon-lit, shadow-soaked maze of a planet that lies beyond the reach of the Empire. Captain Brander Lawson is doing his best to navigate the law in a lawless territory. He's joined by his partner, a droid nicknamed Two Boots, as they face off against scheming crime bosses and as a looming threat of the Shadow Lord Maul nears. From writer Ben Percy and interior artist Madabek Musabekov, we get an A cover from Derek Chu. Look, it's Two Boots. Oh, he's cute. A B cover from AKA with the headshot. Dan Panosian variant. Elena Casagrande Women's History Month variant. All for Star Wars Shadow of the Maul, March 4th. Available on March 11th from Sam Humphries and interior artist Geraldo Borges. It's the return of Jessica Jones. A series of grisly murders in Hell's Kitchen pulls Jessica Jones into a mystery more sinister than she could have ever imagined. As the wife of Mayor Luke Cage, she'll have to tread carefully as she forms a dangerous alliance with Typhoid Mary to track down the killer. But as she delves deeper into Hell's Kitchen's dark underbelly, the evidence she finds presents more questions than answers. Follow the mystery in an all-new Red Band miniseries written by Sam Humphries and drawn by Geraldo Borges, celebrating the 25th anniversary of Alias, with this A cover by David Mack. A B cover from Elena Casagrande. Ji Young Lee and Luciano Vecchio. This will be a polybagged series from Marvel Red Band. It's Alias #1. All right. Also debuting from Marvel Comics, we get the first issue of a... Oh, I get it. Okay, this is a one-shot, folks. And this is the first time in print for this story called Iceman Omega, available on March 4th. The indomitable Iceman, Bobby Drake, is ready to reach his true Omega potential, from coming out to helping terraform the entire planet of Mars. Bobby's had a big year, and it's only up from here. You don't want to miss this beloved 4-part Infinity comic, now for the first time in print, from writer-artist Luciano Vecchio, who did this A cover, available on March 4th. You could special order this Luciano Vecchio B cover. Lucas Vernac variant. And available on March 4th from Marvel Comics. Iceman Omega, one-shot, first time in print. Ooh, it's a big week for #1s at Marvel, and debuting on March 4th also is Moonstar #1, one of the original New Mutants. Death awaits Danny Moonstar when an ancient soul-sucking weapon is set loose. It's up to Danny to track it down, but the weapon's deadly wielder won't make it easy for her. After recent tragedies, can Danny trust herself to save those closest to her? Or will her self-doubts lead to even more bloodshed? From Magic series writer Ashley Allen, picking up threads from that series. featuring interior art by Eduardo Audino and an A cover from German Peralta, making its debut on March 4th with variants by Benjamin Sue. Joshua Swaby, very nice. Marcos Martin. It's Moonstar #1. And finally, the final debut on this week's FOC on Last Call this week. Available for orders up through Sunday at midnight. Lights, camera, superhero action. It's Simon Williams, who has his ups and downs, from being manipulated into villainy by the Enchantress to being one of the brightest stars in the Avengers. But just like Hollywood, no matter how low the lows, Simon keeps fighting the good fight. But what happens when the past catches up to him? Shade tip. Simon keeps fighting the good fight. But what happens when more the past catches up to him? Enter Randolph Chancellor, Simon's former cellmate. A true love letter to LA, as well as the history of Wonder Man. Featuring legendary artist Mark Buckingham joining Marvel mainstay writer Jerry Duggan on Wonder Man #1, debuting on March 18th with this A cover from Paulo Sequeira. Phil Noto on this headshot variant. Rose Besh, very chipper. And it's Wonder Man #1, Marvel Comics. All right, and that does it for Last Call for Marvel Comics. Wow, it got kind of purple all in here all of a sudden. I'd like to remind you folks that we run another program here on YouTube. It's BRAINSCAN. That happens Tuesday night at 6:30. That's live on YouTube from the floor of Green Brain Comics. It's BRAINSCAN. And I'd like to also thank you all for showing up for the Last Call. Remember, your orders are due Sunday at midnight for all of these books. Make sure to get your copy of any of those low print run variants. They're all available to order through Comichub website and app available. Let's see. Yep. Make sure to send and confirm your items. Thanks for tuning into the Final Order Report. Stay up to date on all of our happenings. We are Green Brain Comics on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. All of the links you need for our shopping cart website and Comichub are right below in the description. We are spreading the love of comics and graphic novels from the heart of East Downtown Dearborn since 1985. Feed your brain at Green Brain Comics. Thanks for watching, folks. Emanating from deep under the earth, spreading across the globe at the speed of thought, changing the world one brain at a time. This is the Final Order Report from Green Brain Comics.